MakingStarWars.net.
Am I still muted? Can you hear me, Rob? Who knows what's happening?
I can hear you.
I don't know if you saw the end of the show and the opening end, but mine just stopped. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right, cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's been weird lately, you know. I've just been kind of going with it. I'm super sick today, everyone. So if all of a sudden I just lose interest and be like, bye, that's probably why. But I invited.
That.
Yeah, you know,
should do that more often.
I'm fucking bored. Bye. I don't feel good. Later. You know what?
We should tell people we're quitting the show in an open mic. That's not really directly the show. We should do that.
I know. I had to drive my brother to work today, and then I got like a message from Santa asking me, "Are you going live?" But I was driving, so I couldn't answer it. And then I forgot to answer him. But he says, I have meetings today. Please like today's show." So yeah, do what Santa says. Like today's show. Make sure you subscribe to Star Wars Santa on the YouTube machine. And I invited Bespin Bulletin, but I think today's news isn't good enough for him. You know, Bespin can't get out of bed.
James said he wanted to come by sometime, so you should. I think Friday, but we didn't do a show Friday, so
yeah. James is always welcome, obviously, but
always welcome, James. Always welcome. Hey, before we get started, I like to take
maybe James
5 minutes to bullshit around here, right? Mm-hmm. So
people love that.
Hey, man, I bought the Zelda game.
Oh, fuck you! You went and talk all this shit about it, talk me out of buying it, and then you go buy it. Fuck you, Rob.
Yeah, I bought it. They got me. They got me. They got me. If it helps, I'm no good at this game. Like
yeah.
You know, like
right.
Part of it, I feel like I like it, but like I'm stuck early on. I'm like I know I got to eat peppers to get across some ice, you know, but. Like I haven't eaten enough peppers to like warm up to do it, and then I'm like, I'll fart around and like whatever. I still don't like the analog stick on my Switch. It hurts my hands after a while, so it's a whole thing. I don't know. Like hands
does it hurt Robbie's little hands?
I know, but I'll say this, right? Like, it is better than Breath of the Wild, even like just 2 hours in. You know?
Okay.
Like,
yeah,
I could tell you that it feels like it's actually like. It's fuller, and I would say that in the newer areas, they have varied the landscape shapes. It sounds so weird. It's a thing to gripe about, but I don't like the melted ice cream look of the mountains in Breath of the Wild. Right, like that was my there's if you remember the first Breath of the Wild trailer, it had a shitload of grass and like foliage, and then that all went away when the game came out.
Yeah,
we still don't have that. I really wish this was on better hardware so we could actually get a decent amount of like I don't know grass and bushes, and it's fucking 2023. Like we're still arguing over this.
That's where I'm at with it. Was I tried to talk Penny into playing it because Penny wanted to play it, and we have access to an actual. We all have Switch Lights. That's what we usually play on. But I'm like, I'm not gonna play that game for 300 hours with my glasses on a little tiny Switch. And so we have access to a Switch right now for the TV. I tried to tuck Penny into it. She wasn't interested in it. She was just like, no, don't want to do it. She didn't like the first one.
Once
she
can learn how to make things though, dude, I'm telling you, it's the game. Like if we had this when we were kids, we wouldn't have played anything else. So
no. Yeah. I know. I mean, I love the first Breath of the Wild. I completely finished it. But that's also where I fall on the weird place with this one, where I'm a little bit like, you know what, man? Like, I know it's better. I know it's bigger, but it's like I kind of already played this exact Zelda game already, and that's where I'm just not excited for it.
Until you start playing it, and then you're like, I'll keep playing this. Like,
right?
You know what
I mean,
I feel the same way. But it is still funner. And I gotta say, bad idea to release that Star Wars game within 2 weeks of Zelda. Just in terms of like what everyone's talking about. I felt like the new Star Wars game, man, that Survivor, I think you got 4 weeks of good conversation out of that. If it were just glitch free and just a fun, cool game. Because I was watching some of the story stuff, dude, and it definitely rang cool.
For the record, well, I've been sick this weekend. And pretty much all I've done is play Survivor last couple of days. and played through. I'm like post game, and the post game is huge. Like people who are like, I beat it, I'm done, bye. I don't know. You thought, I think you thought wrong. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think releasing 2 weeks in front of a Zelda game people waiting 5 or 6 years for is a bad idea. Bad idea.
I don't think it. I think it's both. I don't think it. For me, it doesn't matter because it's not an either or. It's like you either like them both and you have to have them both, or you don't. I think it would be like for like maybe for like newer cats, you know, that are like, you know, 9 years old.
I only
today,
say given the QA issues, there's just
but the issue most, I mean, I'm playing on the Xbox and it's not it's either not as big of a thing as people are saying, or it's not a thing for me. Like I like literally played the game for 60 hours and I crashed 3 times.
Oh no,
I couldn't
100%.
I couldn't stream
guys.
Yeah, the PC guys, but fuck them. They're fucking nerds.
Yeah.
Their PC master race, where's it at now? Huh? Where's it at now,
bitch? Right?
Yeah,
where's it at now?
Y'all sound stupid to me right now.
But I would give anything if the Switch 2 was just an Xbox Series S, because man, dude, like you could have like shadows on the bushes, you could have projected, shadows from the light sources. There's a ton of things that are. This is a Wii U game. Like at the end of the day, dude.
Yeah.
Where it's Wii U tech, we're still dealing with. We're still in 2011. You know, you know what I mean. I played Wii U at E3 when it debuted, man, in 2011. Yeah. So like,
I was there.
12 years old now. Like tech, like we're dealing with here. It's ridiculous.
I know, and like a part of me just kind of wonder. They probably won't, but I'm like, is this going to come out on the next system like upgraded? But I kind of don't think so. I kind of think the next jump will actually be significant enough. They probably won't be able to, which is why I probably am going to pick it up.
Well,
pretty soon.
If it's backwards compatible, I could see this Nintendo, because Nintendo's leadership now is totally different than what it was when the Switch was invented. Okay. And so it's a different mindset. I could see them doing like an a upgrade pack, or it's like a visual pack or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I could see that. But yeah. So at the end of the day, I still think, and I'm not, you know me, man. I don't worship at the altar of Ocarina of Time. All right, I ain't that.
You should.
Actually,
you're a fool.
I think the 3DS. I wanted to tell you, I thought the 3DS version was better because one, it's 3D, and two, graphically, it's far better than the original Ocarina of Time. So I do give Ocarina of Time on the 3DS far more leverage.
Mm-hmm.
But that Ocarina demo they had on the Wii U at E3, I did get to play that, where you fight the giant spider and shit. Yeah, but I still would love to see a Zelda game that looks like that. Like, I'm like, can we just get that now? Like, can we have two? Can you have this Breath of the Wild and then like a more traditional Zelda thing going on?
I'm a Star Wars Special Edition guy. I'm like, keep fucking releasing your classic games with updated graphics. You know what I mean?
Graphics, yes.
I'm not saying
changing it so Ganon doesn't kill first would be a bad idea. Can't have Link do anything mean. Can't hit the chickens.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
I mean, I wish that change was even that significant. It's just not. It's like a nothing. Who gives a fuck? But point being is like, remember when they released Mario All Stars?
Yeah,
fucking great. I don't have any problem with Mario All Stars. The Mario All Stars. The only thing I don't like is like when they fix like you can't go to the Minus World anymore and stuff like that. But whatever, it's still like when
that was a glitch with the hardware. The Minus World's different in Japan too, because it literally is the different ways those systems work. You can't like code in a glitch.
Yeah.
Couldn't even imagine how you'd try to do that. But
anyways.
Man,
I'm gonna pick it up.
I told you not to. Yeah.
Did you join the Nintendo Family Plan yet, or does that like not work anymore?
I just got it up and working the other night, so we got to go over that so I can get you.
Because that makes me like your Nintendo Don. I'm like, come to me, because now you're in the family. So
now I'm in the family. We'll have to play something on there. I don't know what. I'm not playing Fortnite. So.
No, Fortnite on the Switch is awful. My kids are really good at it, and I'm just like, how do you guys? I tried to play on there one time. Like I was like traveling. I was like in like a motel or something. It's like, how do people play on this? This is awful. Right. But Fallen Order though, or Jedi Survivor, like the post game on that thing is just like so good. There's like so much to like do still, And
I just
I'm having I mean it is probably the best storied Star Wars game of actually say it is the best storied Star Wars game of all time. I don't think there's even anything close. Like I was not excited for it. I felt like it was going to be a chore. I was only actually really kind of like getting into it at first because I was like, I gotta know the stuff and for the show and for the conversations, you know what I mean? And like just like I watch Bad Batch for the same reason, and that's a chore. But this right here,
is it better than Republic
I'm
Commandos?
oh, I like that game.
People love. Hey man, you're gonna piss off 20% of your audience. You
The
know?
people, no, our audience is a bunch of old people, and the only people who liked it were like 7 when it came out, and Dave
Yeah, that's
Filoni,
true.
and Dave Filoni. But no, but anyways, yeah, that game though, I don't recommend doing the story and selling it like right away. I'm not saying you shouldn't sell it if that's your thing, but there's just like a ton of stuff that opens up after, and like little quests and things and story beats and stuff that like go on, and like you actually like when they make the third game, the stuff that happens in the post game of this is almost like a game in between them. I could end. I gotta say on this one too, like watching the storied videos, it'll get you by. It's good. But on the first game, you can watch all of the cutscenes like as like a movie perfectly fine. People are going to have to really go out of their way to add the missing points that happen like while you're playing the game, the conversations that just pop up and stuff. It's going to be a lot harder to make this one into a supercut film like how the first one was.
If Ezra did like a complete walkthrough, right? Like you played the whole game, you know what I mean? Like, and you like walk through. I'd actually leave that on while I work. I'd go through all the 50 something hours a game. There probably is 20 something, whatever many hours a game there is.
Right.
So, but it's like those 3.5 hour cutscene edits. To me, I'm like, there's like a whole bunch of game you're missing there, right?
Yeah.
Like with just talking to people and shit like that. And so I just don't have the time to play. I can play 1 or 2 games a year, really. I could put, I mean, in terms of completion, I'll play a game for like 3 hours. That's why I like that Games Pass. I can play for 3 hours and never play a game again. Like, hey, I had a good rental night for Rob. Like back when you were a kid, you used to rent a game and never see it again. You left it there.
Yeah, because back then it just cost us $30, which is probably like $60 today, or something, $70 today.
Jeez,
and then you would
games were $60. No, some of them were actually $60.
No, the actual I'm not saying they weren't marked up at places at times, but the actual like retail price of a Nintendo game was always $29.99. Like that was what it was supposed to be, and like,
right.
but what was dumb about that is Zelda would cost the same as fucking pinball, and you're just like,
right.
really, you serious?
Hold on, Iwata program pinball, like so.
Yeah. But I mean, so anyways, though, yeah, you kind of like once video stores started doing that was great because then we were able to play all kinds of games that, like I love Paperboy. I really should have bought Paperboy. I rented it so many times in the end. I probably paid for Paperboy. Yeah, Maniac Mansion.
And Maniac Mansion to this day, like, is probably my favorite or second favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
So, like, if I had to go legacy game, I'll put Maniac Mansion, man, Mario World probably right up there. For
right.
me, like, and totally different genre, right? But Maniac Mansion was the first game I ever played where you could just break the game by you made the wrong choices, you can go no further, and I like that. I was like, wow, so choices do matter, like I can choose to do something and not be able to progress, or I could choose to do something and get a different ending. And so like that was, and it had humor, which was
I always
different.
I always wanted to play like a point and click style adventure RPG because in the movie Big, when the kid is playing the thing and like we only had I didn't have a computer. And so something like that did not exist for me. And I was like, man, I wish I could play a game like that. And then Maniac Mansion ended up being the closest thing to that game from Big.
Given that yesterday was Mother's Day, my mom passed away almost 10 years ago. My mom was a lunatic when I was a kid. So like right up until her death. I love my mom. But at this point in time, when Maniac Mansion came out, my mom was like, I don't want you playing anything violent. By the way, when are you going to join the military? You
Yeah.
know, like it was like I'm right now. I'm telling you that was the legit argument. Like, so Maniac Mansion was a game like, look, nobody fights. There's no violence, right? And
Yeah.
then my mom would be like, you got to go out and punch people at school. And like, don't let them
Yeah.
pick you around. I'm like, it's so fucking weird,
I don't
right?
think you should watch GI Joe because it has guns in it. It's violent. But let's go do some cocaine from Colombian cartels. That sounds good. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
That was
no,
my
yeah,
that was the
yeah. My
hypocrisy
mom
of
was a
my
crystal meth. Yeah,
yeah.
she tried to pass it off with before we get to our parents, but she tried to pass it off with brush your teeth, Rob.
Brush
You
your
know,
teeth,
and I'm like,
Rob.
how do you lose all your teeth at 28, mom? Like,
Ew.
yeah, you know what I mean? I don't think that's not brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
But I have excellent dental hygiene now, so like, I'm not
Hey, something
unintended
good.
consequences. Anyway,
Something good
I
came
just
out
want
of
to
it.
say I would love to get some Star Wars games are out of canon that are just fun in the way that Visions are cool, right? Although the
Hmm.
Visions are getting dramatically more dramatic. I just watched the Spy Dancer
Yeah,
bit.
see, I love that one. And when Bestman did his poll, I believe that was like the least popular one with his audience. And I'm like,
I
how
thought
are
it
you
was
guys?
fantastic.
That's one I think Tony Gilroy could have made an episode of Andor had he had 5
Yeah.
seasons. Like that was something we likely would have seen, right? Something like
And
that.
it had fun and some horror, like that the
Hmm.
the K2 droid genuinely terrifying, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah. And the drummer with the first I got a bad feeling about this, 6 episodes in, I accept that. And it
yeah.
was well placed, didn't see
Mhm.
it coming, you know.
Right.
And the animation style I thought was really good. Looser, simpler, I like it. Really,
Hmm.
really well animated, right?
Yeah, as like a collection or as like an anthology or whatever you want to call it, it's this season is like a really good one. There's some people that say like, oh, it's not as good as the first one because they want that Kurosawa thing back, And I do think like Visions has done the Kurosawa thing to such a degree. Star Wars needs to commit to the Kurosawa thing on a feature
Okay.
entirely, or it needs to like leave it behind. And in this instance, they said we're gonna leave it behind. We're going to move on with other studios. I
Do
think
you think
that was the
Filoni
right call.
will try to do that, or you think he'll try to do the Lucasy thing? Like,
Well,
which one do you think he'll go for?
yeah,
I think I want him to go for full karaoke. Like, fuck it, this is
well,
But
I think with Star Wars Ahsoka, excuse me, he's going for it, but I think he's what was he calling it? He had like a different name than samurai movie or samurai thing. He was calling like shonen something. I can't remember what he was saying now, but he was
they're
going
all in
he was
high school. Like,
no, that's not what he meant. No, it was not
right,
shonen anime. I'm thinking of that because I
right,
got this in front of me. That was why that was in my head. Um,
right.
but anyways, yeah, he was calling it something else, and I remember when he said it each time he says it, he's just saying like basically like cheap samurai TV show, and is how he keeps putting it. But I think it's like self-deprecating because I think maybe he is going for Kurosawa, but knows that there's like that's like walking in a room and going, "Hey, everybody, I'm doing a song like Bohemian Rhapsody right now." It's like, no, you're not.
I'm gonna make the next Citizen Kane. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, exactly. And
Right.
so I think he's coming at it from a bit of like, hey, I know my lane kind of, so I'm not trying to say I'm that, and I'm not trying to promise that, but I do think it's going more in that route, and he's done it before in a television show called Star Wars: The Clone Wars. He did
Well,
actual like Akira Kurosawa thing, and when it started, like how there's the a long time ago text. Well, that usually has like a little like message. This one it was red. I think it was red on that one, and it said in tribute to Akira Kurosawa, and that one was like 7 Samurai in 22 minutes. So he's done, I would say, Star Wars studies on it already, if you will. That's already
the
happened with him.
the downside, I have a buddy who lives in Japan, and he's been with I don't know, he's probably gonna get married there soon enough. And
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about, especially with his fiance, who's like, she's Japanese, and it was this whole thing about how like they put all their money into cartoons and live actions like a goof to them, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
a shame because it's like you can't, you kind of would like to see. There has to be a Japanese director who can, you know, put in a bit of that Kurosawa versus just some guy in America who's like, we know Lucas leaned into it kind of thing, right? Like,
Hmm.
but they're kind of they're mostly animators. Like, so you'd need if you're gonna do a Star Wars animated film. I just don't think you can do a Star Wars animated film 2D and appease the fans. I think the fans, I don't know, man. I just think they think everything should look like the Clone Wars or like Survivor. I think it
Yeah,
gets lost for them.
yeah, yeah. Like, well, that's where
Unless it was super anime.
with
But
with uh with Star Wars in particular, it's like I that's why I just always think it's important that fans do their best to grade something on its own terms. Like, I wouldn't go and fucking put on the Ewok Adventure, a TV movie from 1984 on ABC, I think, and then be like, "Oh, this is fucking not Kurosawa." You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. And that's where, when it comes to like, what are the creators going for? What are they aiming for? And but I would like somebody working on Star Wars to try to do something as involved. Like, I always love in Seven Samurai that like it's kind of filmed in order with the seasons, and like it changes. Now, I didn't notice this the first time I saw it. It was pointed out to me later on, and when I rewatched it, I was like, that's amazing. And as it goes on, like the seasons like turn and stuff like that, like it's nice. There's like a level of detail in the like narrative that makes it highly rewatchable, and that's the thing that Star Wars, when it's working, it's highly rewatchable, something that you'll go back to. And when we do need, I think, like these visual effects movies to start to like step up a little bit on that front. Like, we hit this point in where in reality we can bring back Indiana Jones and make him 35 again or something, and we can do all of this amazing stuff, but they're really not doing amazing stuff. They're doing amazing like gimmicks, amazing spectacle. But
well,
there's not
I could
really
tell you one
like
of the
on that front.
problems.
Yeah,
The problem is it's a product of breaking up the visual effects industry to the lowest bidder.
yeah,
So then and those people cannot maintain talent because they fold, and
hmm,
then they prop back up as six or seven other little houses. And unfortunately, I believe like Lucas was right in investing in his own visual effects company that primarily did his own movies.
hmm.
The ILM and ILM there, Marvel Studios should be investing in their own visual effects studio that, I mean, even
God,
internationally, that is just working on their shit. And I know like the CEOs probably cough up thinking about the money they're spending on that, but think about what you're making back.
yeah,
Like, and you could stop from rebuilding assets. Like, you don't need to rebuild, like a lot of these, the dirty little secret about a lot of these Marvel films is even in the same movie, sometimes a different studio has to remake the same thing that was already built because that's the one studio owns the piece of tech or the prop or the model or the technique process that the other one can't use. And it's
right.
like, how is that saving money or time? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So
I,
one
I
would
don't
hope.
I don't know if it's changed like a lot, but one time somebody from ILM was showing me a movie. I'm not going to be specific, just to for whatever, just to be safe.
Radiolab
But
Murders. Okay.
no, they were showing me a visual effects movie that all of you have seen before. That's not Star Wars. That ILM was doing
Okay.
the visual effects for, and then they were showing me the same exact shot from India that they bought, and they were basically paying visual effects people in India to do the shot. Then they would look at it and go, "Oh, we can make that like a little bit better." And like some of the times, I'll be honest, I couldn't really tell the difference. Not on an iPad, anyways. And it's like the amount of like waste that they do, and it's like how they go forward with things. It's a wacky ass industry. And I went and saw Guardians again. I saw it in 3D. Took my son to see it. He decided he wanted to see it, and so I took him to see it. And by the way, I liked it a hell of a lot better on my second viewing and in 3D. And the movie looked better in 3D than it did on my 2D screening. So I
Told you the
recommend it in
3D was
3D.
good, huh?
Oh yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like, oh my god, like this is a 3D spectacle, like like something I've
Right.
ever seen before. But things like how like all of the people have like different space suits with like the different colors and stuff.
Yeah.
I saw what they were going for, but on the screening I saw, maybe it was the theater. I have a pretty good theater though, so I don't know. But I was like, this just looks kind of like it just looks kind of dim. Like they're going for this vibrant color kind of thing, and I'm like, this doesn't really like look great. But when I saw it in 3D, it did what the color was supposed to do. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll take it in 3D.
Yeah.
You know, I'll
That's
take
why
it. It
I
works.
only want to see 3D on a laser projected theater, you know, just to
Yeah,
make sure the colors are there and the light is there, you know, like once you
right.
remove the bulbs, it all looks great. But I
Yeah.
just can't trust any of these studios, even on 2D screenings, to function with a properly lit bulb. They're running things so cheap,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So and I always like the theater I go to that has that projection setup. I don't eat in the theater because I still wear a mask. I'm that guy. But
Mhm.
on my way out, I buy some snacks to support the theater and then eat it in my car on
Yeah.
the way home. You know.
What do you call it? Cerritos Mall. You ever been there?
Mm-hmm.
You know Cerritos Mall?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like they used to have the theater outside, right? They actually built a Harkins in like alongside the actual mall that's like connected to it now, and it's really good. It's like a really good theater. I don't go to Irvine Spectrum anymore because I'm like it's identical, you know, in terms of quality, and I don't want to drive to LA, so I go to the Cerritos Mall now, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good theater. But anyways, yeah, I enjoyed the movie a little bit more. I will say, like some of the things that we talked about on our review of that movie, though, like we see like two of the raccoons. It feels that shit was shoehorned in. I still stand by my point on that one. And that fucking like big like I don't know what I'm missing here. And I know because you told me, but that fucking all of those people living on that thing together, like on that skull thing or whatever, like in that movie, something about the edit, it does not read to me. Maybe I'm just stupid. And I know you're right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. Right? Like that's what that is. But like as I'm watching it, I'm just like, I don't know how they expected like the general audience that's not like all up Marvel's butt to like follow that on there. I don't know where I was supposed to have learned it. Did I learn that in a previous film or something and I don't remember? But I liked it a lot. I mean, I liked it like a lot more, but a couple of things on it like stood out to me. I was like, I still don't that still doesn't read right. But once again, enjoyed it a lot more. And then let's talk about Star Wars really quickly because that's what this is supposed to be about. Bespin Bulletin did an article based off of a line from one of my previous articles, and you could read the full article. I don't think I'm going to read his speculation article here because it's kind of just reiterating, but basically, I know from sources that part of one of the worlds, one of the locations that they filmed on was called the Nodian Highlands. So the Highlands on a planet called Nodia, I'm assuming, but Nodian is what I was told. Excuse me. So anyways, in his art, he did this speculation article today, and it's very clearly speculation. And you could go on Reddit and see people going like, "Oh, I guess Bespin Bulletin needs some headline news today," and it's just like he's writing an article, you know, he's simply. But the Nodian Highlands, and the thing, and the reason why I'm actually like bringing this up today is because that is a world that they will go to, Nodia. I'm gonna guess it's Nodia, and they're going to go there. But there's a couple of things that pop up in this article that I think will get misconstrued over time to the dummies. To be honest with you,
Is it?
and that's
Is
that
it
I
where
don't. What?
Jason? Do the Duros live on Nodia, but the Nemodians live on
No, they
Durian?
live on
Like, do they do
Cato.
that?
No, they live on Cato Pneumonia. But
Yeah, big difference. Yeah. Well, I don't know
yeah,
how the audience is gonna get that, but all right.
but all yeah, no, but this is like a new place that's not known
Okay.
to the general Star Wars like galaxy. And but there's like things like I reiterate these things in my articles, like where I don't know if Morgan Elsbeth is building a giant ship or a fleet or what, but she's building something with that war machine to go and get them. And there's like a reason for it. And I've been like super clear that I do think she's building a giant ship, a giant vessel Maybe it's even big enough. I don't know how big it is. Maybe it's big enough to bring the whole fucking 7th Fleet or whatever Thrawn's shit is called back with him. But I also know that Thrawn's Chimera bridge and him like being on it happens in the show. So why doesn't Thrawn just get his ass on his ship and fly back? I'm guessing that there's a reason for it. There's something about the geography that makes it where he can't. And so something's gonna be going on there, but I don't pretend to understand the logistics of that issue in the story. And the people that are working on it, honestly, they don't fucking understand it either, because it's probably going to be really clear through a visual effect moment. You know what I mean? Like imagine playing Jedi Survivor and trying to explain Tanalorr to somebody, which did happen to me months ago. Somebody tried to explain Tanalorr to me, and I was just like, okay, I can kind of get it. But when you see it in the game with the visual effect, you're like, oh yeah, this makes complete sense. It's very easy, you know? So I think that's where we're at with that kind of thing. But the Nodian Highlands are where a big action sequence with lightsaber fights and all that stuff is going to happen. Now, the thing that I don't know is that the place that Thrawn and Ezra went to initially, or is this like one location in a series of locations that they will go to in the Ahsoka story as it goes on? Like theoretically, they go to New Planet where Thrawn and Ezra ended up. They fly out with Ezra and are shot down on the Nodian over this planet called Nodia, and now that's where the story takes place for that part of the story. I don't know. That's something that I don't have the answer to at this time. So when it comes out, I'm going to get to endure a bunch of people who read fucking bullet pointed bullshit, don't read my article, or get the information secondhand from Bespin Bulletin on Reddit and then say,
yeah,
I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's
right. Sorry.
That's well, no, I mean, but it's just like those people, and the people who just let those people exist like unchecked is why a lot of Star Wars news is being held at bay at the moment, because nobody wants to deal with the fucking headache of that shit. Like if we don't, when I say police, I mean this like in the nice way, in the good way. But if you're a part of like an online community and you just let dumbasses say stupid shit unchecked like that without any like correction, then it just makes the people who bring you the stuff not want to do it. Like that's just the fact. Like I got little tidbits here and there that I think are interesting, but I don't want to deal with the fucking, like it's not worth it to me either through the headache or financially to go and deal with it. It's not worth it. So it's just like, but that's what we make.
Are you implying that Santa doesn't defend you enough online?
Yes.
Is that what you're
Specifically Santa Claus, not Star Wars Santa, the real Santa Claus. No, but it's
the real one.
Yeah, I mean it's like I mean like when you hear things like word of mouth, like if I was sitting there watching this shit and then reporting it, and like it would be a different issue or a different kind of reporting style would be put into play than what we have. What I have to work with are credible people working on the productions, and everything ends up becoming word of mouth. So yeah, and as a true today I was thinking about this. As the truth says, when MSW Investment Bulletin don't release report, it equals no leaks. And right now, we are going into, in reality, like the quietest period. With the writer's strike, director strike, very highly likely to happen. And productions aren't really moving super fast. And I was thinking about this. I'm like, either at the very tail end of Andor and Acolyte with no showrunners, like shit just starts leaking out everywhere. Or
right,
which could happen, and people could get sick of shit. People could be mad about what's going on, and there's all kinds of reasons 100%. that could happen, but that hasn't happened yet, at least not on my end. And so with that right there, I would imagine any day now, a bunch of people following the next snake oil salesman. Oh, when they're going to tell you what you want, and they're going to be the people on Reddit going, "We're going to eat good tonight." there's always a guy who likes to say that about fake shit. I always laugh. I'm always like, you fucking
Kathleen
moron.
Kennedy gonna lose her job because of the strike. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
It's a little Tracy Morgan. But, all right. I love
Yeah.
Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, I miss Tracy Morgan being
Yeah.
being prolific. But anyways, yeah. So, but like as Bespin says, this is purely speculation. He wrote a speculation piece based off of his thoughts, and I wanted him on to like share his ideas, but you know, he's too good for us today. You know, too good for us. He's got too much important shit going on, I guess. So whatever, Bespin Bulletin, fucking phony ass bitch. Point being though is is that it is I don't know what Morgan Elsbeth is building or why she has to do this stuff. I don't know how much of the extraction of Thrawn back to the core is a timing thing and how much of it isn't. I mean, and I'm very certain that that's what's going to go on, but I'm also open to the possibility, just based off of my own notes and going, source could be a little bit off, source could be misinterpreting and stuff like that. Always a fucking chance that she's building the military apparatus for Thrawn's return, and he's just been waiting, like staying out of the mix for the right moment to like strike. That could end up being the story too. That's not what I think is the story. For the record, because sources haven't said as much, but I've also looked at it and being like, that's a little more streamlined. That makes a little bit more sense. You know, it's completely possible that he would wait for the New Republic to kind of fall into a bit of a lull of comfort before he strikes, and it could be both of those things at the same time too. At the end of the day, that's completely within character. In universe, it makes sense. What they're setting up in Mando 3, it makes sense. So it does seem plausible to me. So I'm open to any of these things, but what I have, I guess, cataloged, you could say, or what did the people making it think they were making? And that's what they think they're making. That's how they think this goes. So, you know, it's that's part of like, you know, like the more like macro story of it all. But in actuality, like what we're going to have is I think how it's going to feel is two friends, Sabine and Ahsoka, are not getting, I think, reinforcements from the New Republic. They have to do this thing on their own. They go out to get their friend. Meanwhile, the bad guys are doing this same exact thing. And then they kind of intertwine, and the good guys need to stop the bad guys. The good guys fail. The bad guys return. The good guys have a win. I think that they bring their friend back. They bring back Ezra Bridger. And so, you know, it's and in that aftermath, that's an interesting, that's an interesting place to be, because Luke Skywalker exists at this time, and now Ezra exists at this time. They're both alive. As far as I know, Ezra lives. And so that they're both alive. And so that right there is that makes for something interesting to happen. Luke's never met, that we know of, besides Ahsoka, who's a Jedi quitter. He never meets like another person with his same goal. So Luke and Ezra Bridger may become partners going forward. You know, Ezra may be the one, maybe like
Should have called him Ezra Quitter.
Well, he didn't quit. That was Ahsoka. Yeah, she's the quitter. Oh, okay. But then she keeps getting shows. I don't know. She quits and keeps getting shows. I don't know, man. I think it's like Office Space, you know. She's like, I just don't care, you know. And then they're like, give her a show.
Quiet quits.
But yeah. So like those are some of the places. Because I was trying to think like everything based off of just what I've heard and what I think is going to happen is like I don't really think there's going to be another season of Ahsoka before the Filoni film. I don't think that's where this is likely to go. But everyone who was working on it though was always like, "Are we going to get a season 2?" But they were like very clear to me. Several. I mean, like almost all my fingers. People have told me it was Storm Crow season 1. Like it was literally like it had that. Like when they were doing Kenobi, it didn't say Kenobi season 1. You know what I mean? It didn't say Joshua Tree season 1. Like with this, they very clearly wanted it to be multiple seasons, but also there was never anything that said, oh, this is season 2 is going to start filming at this point. When one of the other productions that was like set up, one of the like little companies that was set up to run a show around the time of when Mando 4 should film, there's no indications that itself is Stormcrow season 2 either. So it's definitely interesting. But what could they do with an Ahsoka season 2? And what I just said, you would have Ahsoka theoretically, in all likelihood, bringing Ezra Bridger to Luke Skywalker and being like, you guys need to meet. And at some point, Ahsoka would have to come to terms with the fact that she walked away from the Jedi Order when they turned on her for politics and a republic that fell, when they were all manipulated by Palpatine. And that when she did it, she did the right thing. She refused to be a tool of that apparatus. But by all indications, the character of Ahsoka is a Jedi at heart and intellectually and spiritually. So if you have Luke Skywalker and you have Ezra Bridger being Jedi, her problems with the Jedi Order are kind of wiped clean in that moment. I don't see why she'd be like, nah, fuck those guys. I quit for these reasons, and then put that on them. If anything, this would be the thing that would bring her back into a fold. So it may go that way. And why wouldn't they do that in a Filoni film?
You think
probably because they're doing it in the Mangold film. You don't want 2 films of that, right? So maybe that's what the next season could be. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the downside to the Man's Gold. I mean, I won't say downside because I could care less one way or the other.
The bad timing.
I know a lot of folks want to see the Luke Jedi Academy series and how that went. You know. Yeah. But it's like I don't see how you run that plus a Mangold film that's setting up the First Order plus the SOC Ray thing that could be doing that again on some level, right? Mm-hmm. Like. That would be 3.
It would be
if you want variety, that's not variety.
But also for what it's worth, you could find themes and motifs that all of these things end up sharing. It's like the powers that be at Lucasfilm do get obsessed with with certain things, and it becomes like all of the stories have the fucking theme with that Princess Leia Hope shit. You'll see that in all of it. All Hope comes up in every fucking one of those things. And then you like down to just more stupid shit like, oh, he's a bad robot. He's an evil robot with a personality, but but this spin is different than that spin, which is different. So it's just like it ends up kind of coming at it from like completely different angles. Like in my opinion, if you were going to do like the Mangold film, I don't think is about starting the cult necessarily, the Jedi itself. I think it's going to be about like probably like the person who's like, what did I just do? I feel this thing pulling me, and then like they'll probably do some sort of
cult, Jason.
Yeah,
Bohemian Grove. World Order.
Yeah, but you know,
cartoon's coming. I'm gonna debut the Man's Gold tune when Indy hits. By the way, I have a feeling Man's Gold's gonna. I'll have to come up with a name so he doesn't fucking sue me. But you know, like Man's Silver. I don't know. Man's Colonial Silver. Like I don't know. It doesn't have the same ring, but you get it.
Yeah.
So Man's Gobot. I don't know, something. But we gotta work on a name. But yeah, dude.
Standard. Mm-hmm.
The Mangold Standard.
Right.
If I put a Z in it, I don't think, you know.
If it's bad, if Indiana Jones 5 sucks, can we be Mangold Star Families? No? Too close? Okay.
What if it's got the umlauts like Spinal Tap? People forget Spinal Tap has the umlauts. They know it's Spunal Tap, I think.
Spunal Tap.
yeah, because it has those fucking umlauts, and no one ever.
It makes me think of like on that same level of stupid is Bill S. Preston Esquire in fucking Bill and Ted. He's a lawyer. It's like what?
Yeah.
It's so good.
I got in so much fucking trouble once at a convention I was at, like in 2005. Because
Right.
I was bored, I just put Esquire on my shit. I thought it was funny,
Right.
like drew a little Bill and Ted's, and some fucking lawyer read my ass over. We're a lawyer. I'm like, it's fucking Bill and Ted's, dude. Look, I even drew a Bill and okay, whatever.
Yeah, like a wild stallion. Yeah.
Yes, but L.A., aggrieved lawyer may as well,
Yeah.
may as well could throw a quarter and hit 15 of them.
Farm Boy says Ezra weren't ever knighted, was he? And I say I don't think he was actually like knighted, no. And I would even say like his thing where he wins that battle and does the Purgle thing. That was a pretty good Jedi trial, if you will. Like for considering Obi-Wan Kenobi got knighted for killing Darth Maul, doing this big thing in the context of high pressure or whatever. And so I would imagine like you would be. Yeah, he got knighted
because Darth Maul stood there and got killed. Like, let's not. It was ridiculous when it happened. There was a way you could have done it where he could have just used the Force and got him from behind and pulled the saber through him. Like did a cheap behind, stab him in the back. But no, who would know?
Everybody cheered in the theater every time.
Yeah, until the fucking third film when he starts making a big deal about the fucking high ground, and I'm like, Darth Maul had the high ground, you loser.
Rob, you see right there, you're misunderstanding it. It's not the high ground doesn't give you necessarily an advantage. It's an advantage between Obi-Wan and Anakin because Obi-Wan taught him. So there is only one solution, and Anakin or Obi-Wan knows
what. He taught him to not stand there when someone comes flying at you. But he stood there when Anakin came flying at him. I don't understand how he learned that.
But that's the.
I'm sure there was in a Dark Horse comic somewhere I didn't read.
No,
it wasn't a Rogue Planet. I read that.
It's when you look at like the opening of like Revenge of the Sith, from Attack of the Clones, Anakin goes in together. They're not synced, and when we get to Revenge of the Sith, we see that they are now working as a team in harmony. Every single thing that they do in their ships to their lightsaber fights is completely is together. So right there, we're just from the visual language of the film, we see Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi. They know what each other's thinking all the time. So he tells them, he's just like, you can't do it, man. Like he's literally telling them, don't do that one move. I'm the master. You're going to get fucked up. And he does the move because he's arrogant at that point. He thinks his new power is going to take that over.
Yeah, Lucas and I chat often, Jason. And
right, I know.
He told me that you don't need the words. You just got to look at it. And if I just look at it, Darth Maul's at the top, Obi-Wan's on the bottom, Obi-Wan wins.
Right.
Anakin should have won that fight. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't rhyme. It's supposed to rhyme. It's more like spoken word.
Hey, BMA Joe says, were Ezra and Thrawn definitely in the same location? That must have been a very awkward 9 years, laugh out loud. No, that's one of the things that I had gleaned is that at some point before the show begins, they have already gone their separate ways. And I have questions about that myself. Like, what does that mean? Like, was Ezra and Thrawn, have they been having their own little Star War out here for 9 years? Have they seen each other since they went their own ways? Like, what's the deal there? And I don't know. It's not immediately clear. I've asked about that a lot of times, and I haven't got a really good answer. And then
I suspect it could very well be something that isn't even addressed.
It might not be. Yeah, it may. They may just be in their own separate places when it, as we get there, and just implication. Obviously they didn't team up, because you would end up if they stuck together, you would have almost probably had I like this old movie called Enemy Mine. You ever see that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Louis
great
Gossett
movie.
Jr.
Yeah,
Dennis Quaid, the poor man's Kurt Russell.
yeah, they have a baby. They have a baby together. But yeah, they
Yeah.
basically they end up marooned on this like moon, and it's dangerous, and they kind of like have to team up and become friends. They set aside their like differences as warriors, and they end up becoming like sort of like best friends on this moon. And over time, like they get down to like up at a primal level, they're just people. That's kind of like the takeaway, I guess. Well, you would have to end up with that kind of story, and then you would end up with like Thrawn not wanting to come back and like take over the fucking Republic. You know what I mean? He would be changed by Ezra, or Ezra would be changed by him, and Ezra would be like right there, ready to go take on the New Republic with him. So, it doesn't go that way though, obviously. So, yeah, and then like Jonesy points out about the Mangold movie takes place 25,000 years before Episode 4. And it's about the discovery of the Force. We're going to see the first Jedi to ever wield the Force. A lot of opportunity to go really deep. Yeah, there's like a lot of opportunity to go minimalistic, and then obviously to take it into some insane places, as the people that would learn how to wield it first would likely be just super adept at it, like naturally, but also like in the dark about a lot of it. So there's a lot of like room for opportunity. There's a lot of room for it to be, obviously it's still Star Wars. And so there would be some on the backdrop of some kind of war that these people are discovering this with this person. And, maybe the first Skywalker itself, if you will. And so, yeah, I can see doing these movies and having this era sort of have a unifying theme without these things all being, here's what it looks like when we do it on Disney Plus 25,000 years later. Like, I don't think they would be that fucking lazy. They've never have. They've never been that like overtly just like, we got one idea and we're just going to keep doing that one idea that way. They always try to have like an interesting twist on it. But the thing about the Luke Skywalker era now, in my opinion, is if that movie is 15 years after Episode 9, and it's about Rey had some problems getting a Jedi Order set up because the galaxy's like, we don't want it. That's kind of what's happened. It sounds like her grant proposal wasn't funded, and so she's having to figure out how she's going to do this on her own. Whereas when we see Luke Skywalker, the Republic, it looks like, gave him some really fancy robots to start buildings out of rocks and stuff, and so he's getting funded, and she's not. And so like that right there just almost makes like completely different things, but also makes Luke Skywalker in a weird way having like sort of a debt to a political body, which is making the same mistake, but politics don't destroy his. But we do know his gets destroyed by Kylo, and it's just a really quick rehash of the last Star Wars trilogy in that front on that motif. So I'm not sure how deep you would want to go on the Luke one. I don't know. I don't. You'd have to really like. You'd have to fill it up with characters like Ezra and stuff, and that's why I think it's possible that we do get some of that. But I hate the name Jedi Academy, and they're using that for the Luke one and the Rey one, and I just like it. Just sounds like
I told you it's
like
gonna be confusing, bro.
Well, yeah, it's like the a Jedi temple, and they're like monks, and these academy makes it sound like, oh, I got accepted. Dad, can I have tuition to go to Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy? It's like, I don't know. but the Rey one would obviously be the one where I think you would deal with like the majority of that. And I know everybody just goes, Luke Skywalker, I want that. But you know what? We kind of skipped ahead because of the realities of time. And we wanted Luke Skywalker to come back in a sequel trilogy when he was in his 60s. And so this is what we got because of that real life issue. And so I'm not so sure if that story, the Luke version of it, is the most interesting one to like tell at the moment, especially when we're getting into the first Jedi, and then how does Rey do it, but if you make them all completely different hurdles and different challenges and different takes on the same thing in the end, there's a chance, 2 or 3 work. But
feel
I'm
like
gonna
the day they realize the Star Wars comics aren't selling, they're gonna scrap them all and move it to just one Luke. You know, like they'll focus on one big thing like that. Like they'll all just do the Luke Jedi Academy. Well, we know there's plenty of ripe for stories because it's a 10-year period and that's enough to sustain the Star Wars. Blah 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 blah. But you know, because I don't see them doing a series with deep faking Mark Hamill. I see them saving that for the movies, the whole, you know, I mean, or an occasional season ender or rando cameo to pump up the views on a show, you know. But if
yeah,
you throw that one out, if you have a whole series coming, then people just get tired of them,
right,
you know.
right. Bumbo Jumbo says there's a Rebels episode with Zeb and Agent Callus that steals a lot from Enemy Mine. Yep, 100%. And this is a question I've had too. The Nodian Highlands, like when they were filming, also this ties into a question Aria DM'd me, and it's like, where did they film it? And they filmed it in Southern California, in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach sets, and they built high grass. They put like they built the sets with like high grass like plants, and then like a little stage on top of it, so it would like come through and stuff. And so big tall grass, and like I know like one of the days that's where Sabine, Ezra, and Ahsoka are like I think hiding in that grass when the like undead troopers start to surround them like in a big circle, and Shin shows up, and then there's like a lightsaber fight and everything with the stormtroopers going off. So it sounds cool, but yeah, we may have seen it before, but I think most of the stuff we've seen in the trailers was New Republic stuff from the first 4 episodes, and then after that, it's like Ahsoka going to that Jedi temple, to that old one. So hard to say, but maybe. And yeah, and Balon and Shin at least twice in this series. Yeah, and the thing about Balon and Shin is when I first learned of them, it was already like when they were going for Thrawn. Now I've learned that those 2 characters are in the whole series. I think Thrawn may only be on like the middle of the series to the back end, but Shin and Balon are throughout. So and so we'll see. And then Asatru says that Deadline keeps calling it Star Wars New Jedi Order movies. Yeah, and I also have to say, like, I'm not a big fan of Lucasfilm. Clearly knows that they are going to be making Star Wars content after all of us are dead. So if they call anything New Jedi Order, just like New Republic, that sounds stupid, and it's going to sound stupid over the long term. When we get into the Republic getting destroyed after Episode 9 again someday, and then a Republic comes after that, which one's the new one? It's like they need to start giving it a different name. New isn't good enough. It's actually really lazy and a holdover from the expanded universe content when people were just doing their best, but everything was less than stellar. And the word new does not belong in anything unless it's New York or something.
What about Jedi Order Rising?
Yeah, that's not what they would call it in universe though. They would call it like the Skywalker Jedi Order. I don't like that. That's not what I'm suggesting they do, but it would be something like that. It would be
the Skywalkers, right?
Yeah, like in context, the Galactic Empire retroactively would be called the Sidious Empire or the Palpatine Empire when another empire, when the first, you know what I mean? Like you keep going like into these things where Star Wars is going to repeat ideas over and over. You can't have the word new because contextually it becomes really stupid when somebody in a story taking place 25,000 years after Episode 9 calls that the New Republic. It's the oldest shit in the galaxy.
Yeah, but when you're in the Old Republic storylines, they're not calling it the Old Republic when it's new, right? Like
no. Lucas is smart enough to not do that, but the Lucasfilm, the current brass, are calling the New Republic the New Republic because that's what they were used to calling it in the 90s.
Here's
But
the
that's
easy way
not.
they can get around it though, Jason, is they just
Mhm.
jump to like 1,000 years in the future, and
Yeah.
then the new Jedi Order that Rey ran is the old Jedi Order. They just call it the old Jedi Order.
Right. But once
Because
again, but
it's all
it's
perspective. It's
no,
old to
no,
the people in that story.
it's the same issue. Yeah, you call it the old Jedi. Well, do you mean the old Rey Jedi? Do you mean the old Jedi from Luke Skywalker, from Obi-Wan Kenobi's era? Do you mean the ones from the Mangold film 25,000 years before Episode 4? Like, that's why they need to come up
maybe
with beautiful sounding good names, like some
maybe
science
they'll
fiction-y
call it
shit. Mhm.
maybe they'll call it like Jedi 89, like how we talk about Batman movies,
Okay.
right?
Like,
Like
for
it's
instance,
named the
it would
year it started.
when the Empire attacks the New Republic, would be shit to call it the New Empire attacking the New Republic. What they would call it in universe would be the Thrawn Empire, maybe something like that. Things that like would ground it to a character or an event, but you can't use the word new and old. And like in context, yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi would call it the Old Republic. Like he would, you know what I mean? He might say that word. Um, but when he said the Old Republic, he also meant just the straight up Republic, didn't he? And so, which once again proves why it is a bad idea to use new or old when talking about huge political bodies in an era in Star Wars, because it just gets confusingly stupid, sounds wrong, and over time it reveals how much of a rehash everything is. you just That's why they don't want to call any. That's why episode 10, when it does happen, not sure they're gonna go episode 10, other than the fact that like episode X looks fucking badass to some Mountain Dew kids. But episode they will definitely won't want to call anything. They won't want to call something episode 13. They won't
We should
want to, for marketing reasons. They
we
won't
should
want
put
to.
AI on this, Jason. Though
Mhm.
AI will figure out the name because Lucasfilm they can't do it. They don't, it's too tough. AI
But
can do it, right? Right?
yeah, hey.
No, no.
Azitru says Disney's new film plot is getting called woke by crazies, and they think because she worked for Disney, that's why she's doing it. It's they're honestly, if those types see anything that's not a white guy, then it's woke, and it is what it is. I would say when you really get down to it, like in reality, and I'm not their reality, their political landscape where they want a reason to justify some other made up shit. I mean, in reality, what Disney does is literally the bare minimum of being forward whatsoever. It's usually lazy, and it's just like it's very checkboxed in that way. And I can understand if people were like, "Oh yeah, like so and so shit in the movie because they just got it because of a checkbox." But once again, it doesn't fucking matter with Star Wars because the acting ceiling really isn't that high. But I know guys who only watch Marvel and Star Wars movies don't know what the fuck I'm talking about right now. They just have no clue. And
I have no clue.
shut up. You
What?
watch things. But
I watched some anime. I watched a little Blue Block the other day.
oh,
If you ever
fuckers.
want to see soccer mixed with battle royale, but they don't actually kill people,
Yeah.
but they sort of like, because the Japanese are big on shame and like status, right?
Mhm.
Like it's about, I don't want to ruin it, but yeah, it's about that. Like supplement death for like outcast, like in a way, like it's interesting take. It's totally absurd anime, but it's fun to watch. If you want to see a show where you learn all the wrong lessons, this is the one. Like I had hoped Boba Fett would have been one of those shows where, he's learned all the wrong lessons.
Yeah.
And maybe the end of the show is righting that wrong and learning the right lessons, right? Go in reverse.
I was thinking about our conversation we can't forget to talk about Indy today, by the way. But I was thinking about our last conversation about Boba, and I'm just like, yeah, I the first season's not perfect, but a second season might be a chance to like fix it. I honestly like with Boba, where they should take it. If I were doing it, where I would take it, I would go Breaking Bad, in the sense that it like not Breaking Bad the series necessarily, but in the sense that he's in a way trying to go straight. He's like the gangster who's like trying to get the family legitimate. This is Boba's version of that. But what if the dude can't? Like that's like more interesting to me. What if he does like, what if he is like through and through a good villain, an anti-hero, but still like a villain? And what if, trying to be that good guy, trying to fucking, what if sitting on a throne in Jabba's palace and, giving his ideas about who's guilty on Tatooine over a water dispute, maybe that's not really him in the end. Maybe he's going to hate that. And so that's where I would maybe start it to move it into someplace else.
Well, it needs a certain crisis of conscience, right?
Yeah,
And that's what Walter White had, the cancer, and his ego would not allow him. He never dealt with trauma, and his way of dealing with that now is to reject and to take control, right? Like, I don't need help. I'll do this on my own. And that's the lesson to learn there. But that requires a real character centric like writing, less about moving items around a shuffleboard, right? To end up in the spot you want them to be to set up something else like that.
Yeah.
Right. Or to have the possibility of setting up something else. Because these characters are forever. So, you can't tell anything meaningful, which is a bullshit fucking.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid. Yeah.
But
kill them
that
if
is
you have
what
to.
Happens a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Kill everyone in that fucking show. Like first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, have them either by choice or force lose everything. And then, or what if the fucking New Republic shows up? What if fucking, the X-Wing show up to arrest him? He's probably, he's done some shit.
He's a stone cold killer.
Well, I mean, he literally worked for Darth Vader to, get a general of the rebellion taken away from the fight. I mean, I don't know if you get to just go on. I mean, we see all these people getting like reappropriated. What about Boba Fett? You know what I mean? He's a criminal. So anyways, yeah, there's like a lot that could be done with somebody who's really inspired, And on a side note, on a Breaking Bad side note, I was thinking about Breaking Bad the other day. I was like, you know what is pretty rad about Breaking Bad is when it first comes out and you haven't seen all the episodes. The almost like the promise and the like political undertone of the concept was what happens when society doesn't take care of its smartest people, such as a school teacher, and makes them live on a teacher's salary. And then they are forced to go evil, to go bad to take care of the things that they like love. And it's like a really good point, because if you don't take care of the smart people and you turn against them, then they end up leaking all your shit. No, I'm kidding. No, but they end up like going and like doing, becoming what you don't want. They end up becoming counter to you. And so that was just the idea of Breaking Bad when it came out, or when it very first like started, and when it was like probably like the elevator pitch for it, if you will. And then, but when you get down to it, like very quickly, the premise grows into like Walt, that's his excuse almost. But then like Walt's a completely different sociopath, and like it moves in and he does, and it grows. So it's like, wow, it has like the premise, it has two good ones though. That's what's amazing about it. The one that it kind of like pretends to be, and then what it actually is when the story is holistically told.
And that one, the one that it goes to is also what I put into the category of what happens when you win the lotto. Like everyone goes, if I got a lot of money, I would do this, right?
Two chicks at the same time, man.
This guy got a lot of money.
Yeah.
Look how it changes you, right? Look what power does to someone, right? Or perceived power. Like he had perceived power. At any point, his wife could have killed him in his sleep. He didn't have that much power. You think about it, it's just this. He had this perception of power in his own mind that he built up. And so like
they get really horny on that show when they start, and both of them in the spinoff too. That's why the woman from the spinoff so much better than the wife. The wife was boring. The other girl got horny about it too. Remember that? That was good.
guess because she cheated on him with
No,
the guy, Tim,
what was the
whatever
wife
his
in
name
Breaking
was.
Bad? What was the Breaking wife? What was her name? Like
Skylar.
she's Skylar. Skylar sucks. Like Skylar, like she
I don't
sucks.
agree with that. Like,
But
they were
Jimmy.
in an unhappy marriage that
Yeah,
should have ended years
Mhm.
ago, or gone to therapy years ago, and so
I
they
like
were at the tail end of that.
Jimmy's choice in women
You,
superior.
it's a different relationship entirely.
But they both go through the same, like, getting horny over power and crime to some degree. But Skylar never really was that into it. She's boring. But she's but she's a good foil, obviously, for the protagonist. You know what I mean? Like, in that thing, like, without her, the show doesn't work. I'm just more joking about the
I know, but that actress received a lot of shit from.
Oh no, she shouldn't.
So,
she shouldn't have. No, she shouldn't have got shit for that. That was her. She got shit for it because she was really good in the part. Like, she was really doing, like, that role fucking almost flawlessly.
Right.
So that's why that happened. So hopefully she sees it as a roundabout pat on the back, because that's what it is. Like she's standing in the way of, like, because you do want Walt to, even though you hate him and he's terrible, you do want him to, like, succeed, because he's, you follow him and you're interested in it. And yeah,
they talk. We're not gonna spend it's not gonna turn a Breaking Bad podcast, but, like,
it could. Hey,
they spent a long time thinking about that. Like, Peter Gould and to a lesser extent, Vince Gilligan talked about that at the end of the day, how they decided to write Kim Wexler was in response to how they had wrote Skylar, right?
Yeah.
And so Skylar is very reactionary towards the last 3 seasons, or like, hey, maybe her taking it out on her unborn kid probably didn't make her seem as a sympathetic character, right? Even though you got to understand, like, if you were in a relationship with a madman, what would you do? You know what I mean? Like, you need some form of control. But I think, like, that move would have worked brilliantly in Game of Thrones, but because it works now, we hold them to our society state, right? Because it's very medieval, that whole Breaking Bad. So, you got different kingdoms, and you got, like, a farmer who becomes, like, a underground lord, right? Like, if you take, I would love to, man, I bet you I could get AI to take all the scripts from Breaking Bad and rewrite them if they were medieval, and it would play like a great season of Game of Thrones. You know,
dude,
what I mean?
let's do it as a comic. We'll get rich off of it.
Hey, fan fiction is how Twilight got made. Let's make the next Twilight. That was, what was it? Yeah, it was Hunger Games. It was one of those fucking things. Hunger Games was Twilight fan fiction. Sorry, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
I like it when my boyfriend chokes me. Oh my god, he choked me. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, Jason. It just turned me on.
Hey, you know what?
Hey.
It was a weird time when single women were reading whatever the fuck that was, and it was just like, I don't think you're really into this. Mumbo Jumbo says the same way that the Joffrey actor was ridiculed in real life because he played a good exactly, and
right,
and Walter Peck in Ghostbusters, who's now back, which I love.
Except he played that guy in every fucking film.
He did.
In Real Genius, he was that guy. All right,
yeah. But he was so good.
Ghostbusters.
He's so good at being an asshole. Like, you know what I mean?
And then
like,
he's that guy in Biodome.
Wait,
and then he's that.
Okay, wait, was Real Genius after Ghostbusters? Really?
That was before.
Or before? It was really before.
It was before. Yeah,
in my mind, it was after. But okay. Yeah, maybe I just saw that one later.
Because you saw it on cable, you didn't see it in the theater.
Probably. Yeah, I don't think I saw Real Genius in the theater.
No, because she had that haircut.
I saw Real Genius in the theater, but I saw it in a drive-in as a sit film, so it was probably already 4 years old by then. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. But that popcorn at the end.
Sorry, no, you're right. It was 1 year after. I'm wrong.
Okay,
you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
But that technically was at the same time when you wrap up shooting.
Yeah,
schedules, they probably were overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, but
he's gonna be back. William Atherton, right? That's
the
actor.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. Whenever I watch Ghostbusters as an adult today, and I think Walter Peck is actually right. Like, just
that
because
was the whole MythBusters versus Ghostbusters. Did you ever see the
Mm-mm.
epic? You ever saw Epic rap battles at Ghostbusters versus Mythbusters?
Mm-mm. I didn't see
It's
that
great
one.
because they had the
Okay.
Mythbusters. It's really good. I'll play it for you when we're off. We gotta
Okay.
watch it after the show. But
Okay.
it's really great. They go, "You built an unlicensed nuclear accelerator."
Yeah.
Some shady shit. Walter Peck was right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
it is. It is. And like,
yeah.
he's doing this in like the middle of like when you get down to it, they're doing nuclear stuff in the middle of New York. Like that's not good. That's not legal. Even though Bobby Brown made it legal in his song, remember? He said that's not legal. He says it in the song. I don't know. As a kid, I didn't know what that meant. But anyways, but I'm glad he's back, and I'm interested to see if he's the asshole or if they deal with any of that, in this, because that fucking little girl in the Ghostbusters thing, I think she's an environmentalist. She looks like one. Egon's daughter. She would be like. I think she would make. I think it would make sense to her too. But yeah, but once again, the Joffrey actor, like the even the fucking kid in even Malfoy and Harry Potter, like which is I'd say like the least talented of all of them probably in the big picture, but did the role fucking like really, really well. You really hate that guy. And it's more than plotting, it's performance as well. And so yeah. But
No, the one that got me, and no kid remembers this, but the one that got me was I hated Lawrence Fishburne because of What's Love Got to Do with it.
really?
Yeah, I was like,
you're like Ike Turner?
I thought that man, I didn't see Ike Turner. I saw fucking Lawrence Fishburne just beating the shit out of Angela Bassett.
Yeah.
Like, I mean that movie's brutal, bro. Like that's a brutal fucking.
Oh yeah.
People do biops, right? They do like musical
biopics. Biopics.
Yeah.
Sorry,
when they do musical
I'm joking.
biopics, they ain't doing What's Love Got to Do with it. But that won the fucking Oscar. I give them that.
It was good. Like how like I mean this is like years ago. I had to reconcile. You know how today people go like, oh, Michael Jackson, like can you like somebody's art and not like them and what they did and stuff like that? I had that like as a teenager when I grew up watching What's Love Got to Do with It, and then I'm like reading this book and on a guitar. And like it gets into how these guys discovered distortion on the guitar. And it's fucking Ike Turner with a broken speaker. And at the end, it's revealed to be Ike Turner. I'm like, fuck. I mean, like as far as bad as he did, as bad as he was, like a piece of shit should literally be held to that standard as a piece of shit as a socially. But fuck, he created distortion. That's pretty fucking cool.
Jason. That's like the time I gotta watch OJ in my Naked Gun movie. He just kind of ruins it, don't he? But it's great when you knock him in a wheel. Oh, it's fun to watch, but it kind of makes me feel a little dirty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had the OJ discussion with my kid because my kid loves the Naked Gun, loves it, like probably his favorite movie series of all time.
Oh, okay.
I bought him Dracula Dead and loving it. He doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work.
It ain't that good. Now he was better in SummerSlam '95. All right, I gotta go. Bye.
Bye, Dave. Yeah.
He's making a movie, Jason. He's really busy these days. Like I don't know how often we're gonna be able to get him anymore. He's making a movie.
Making a movie.
Like as soon he's not gonna be able to hang out at that In and Out forever. He might get some location changes. I'm just letting you know there might be a whole Felonious tour coming soon because. The fact that I got a little fucking character that's making a movie, if you think I'm not gonna have fun with that for the next 2 fucking years, I'm writing shit now.
So at Celebration, they showed like 6 to 7 minutes of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And what I predicted is happening is that they've taken that 6 minutes and they're basically cutting it up and turning it into clips. And those are the clips that are going to be used. And
like Campia does with this show, right? He cuts it up into little clips. What?
I don't know. People
you don't want to get into that beef? He's not on,
no,
he's not on YouTube anymore.
He left. I just don't.
We should do that. We should cut this up into little clips, but it's just my Filoni parts. We don't explain them.
Yeah,
it's just Filoni. Comes on.
I never watched Campia because like his takes never have anything to do with anything that I do, that I follow, that I like, or in any meaningful way.
11 a.m.
But and once again, not a dig on him or anything like that. I'm just like, I just don't, it's just like he's just giving his takes.
I wasn't digging. I was saying like
no, I'm saying me not caring isn't a dig on him. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like I just don't. kind of give a shit. Like when like guys who watch wrestling, for instance, like do nerd stuff, you know, I'm just like, yeah, cool, cool take, bro. You know what I mean? But Big Screen Leaks, I think has the cons like playlist or whatever, like thing or whatever. They say Indiana Jones on Dial of Destiny with credits is 154 minutes. And we know that a lot of that length is added on because of the early young indie adventure at the start. So a lot of people are like, oh man, that's so much longer. It's not going to be bad. It's going to be, you know, what does that mean? I just think it means that they're giving us a lot of what everybody kind of has always wanted was Indiana Jones 4 in 1990. And I think that's kind of where that's going to go. But they also released, because of Cons 2023, they released a 1 minute clip. And that was your first time seeing that footage, correct?
Yeah, in the entirety, yes.
Yeah. And like you could watch
bits of it in the trailer.
I put it on my okay. Since we ended up saving this till the end, I think we can try this. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the end, and if they end up flagging it, I'll just say fuck it, cut it. You know, I'll just cut it out.
Yeah.
But okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna play the clip. I'm gonna turn this. Oh fucking! I don't know if this works. Turning the sound like down really low probably doesn't matter. Probably catch it anyway. But I fucking love this clip. And when the longer version of it,
it's gonna get the whole show thrown off.
I'll just have it pulled. I'll just have them clip the part out in the end if they have a point.
Okay.
But yeah, but all the stuff just plays so well.
Yeah. We're talking over this, or
we can.
Right.
Might help it not get flagged, you know.
His only daughter selling her soul for bail money.
So but by the way, when he's talking about the father, he's talking about Toby Jones, the little guy who played Capote in that other movie. The guy from is he in Winter Soldier, or was he just in the first?
Yeah, he's in Winter Soldier.
Yeah. So that's her father, and in the trailer, he says, "Your father shot me once." In the trailer, you see Young Indy get shot by him in that moment. So, but he's dead. We learned that he's been obsessed with going after. He was obsessed with going after the Dial of Destiny, or obsessed with it, and now she's going after it.
Do you think we see him get shot before this or after? I think it's funnier if we see it after this.
He gets no.
You know, if we hear him say it and then we see it later, I think it plays funnier.
No, he gets he gets shot in 1944, which is where it begins. We think it's where it begins, okay. And then he talks, and then he at the end of it on the train, he gets shot by him on accident, and then and then there's a call back to her later on. So, it's the same methodology, but just different order.
It's not all bail money. Some of it's gambling debts and some.
Helena, no, Helena. How did you end up like this?
I mean, with all very beautiful subdivision.
By the way, did you see Teddy's little move here? By the way, I watched this clip a lot of times. When she says "beautiful," back. Yeah, he leans back. Like, watch this part. Watch Teddy. I love it. It's good. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But I really don't.
Teddy, she's Indiana Jones to him, right? Like,
yeah, she's short. He's short round to her Indiana Jones, basically.
Right.
But in these, like, there's the Nazi. I just don't see Spielberg doing a better job than this.
No, man, dude, the energy's fantastic. The energy, the impact of like the thing, it feels tangible, you know?
Yeah.
And the tone feels right. It feels like we're getting an on point Spielberg in a way, right? Like,
yeah.
So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it because I was reading an article in college in American Studies about genre. It was about how once a genre is defined, it's dead. And like the gangster genre was like effectively dead, you know, and very defined and then regulated in Hollywood. And the thing about Spielberg is his style of filmmaking is a genre unto itself. It's a style of filmmaking. It is its own genre, but he did it all. He's not really contributing anything new anymore. And so now talented scholars of film and talented filmmakers are taking what he's done, and they're, in my opinion, J.J. Abrams was a good student, but not necessarily somebody who's going to take it further than Spielberg did. But right now we see Mangold really.
Yeah, Spielberg didn't write his own scripts though. I mean, he wrote like a story or a treatment, but he wasn't out there.
He did some. He early on he was more of a writer. Like Close Encounters, he's a writer and stuff like that.
And
but
Night Sky's set in development hell because of it. You know, like
right.
So it's like JJ gets stuck making
Dark
Night
Skies
over and over.
Dark Skies was yeah.
Right. Yeah. Eventually becomes Poltergeist. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, once again, though, my whole point is that like what Spielberg and Lucas did is something that this current generation of filmmakers are just taking apart constantly. How do we do what they did? And no one, you don't really know that stuff until like you get into it. Like I've gone just for fun, not anything I'd ever put out or even want to share. But it's like I've gone through, like I used the Bohemian Rhapsody example earlier. I've gone through and redone everything in Bohemian Rhapsody just to fucking like figure out how the pieces work because I'm interested in it. And filmmaking, you can't really just go do that necessarily. There's little things you can do, little ideas, and then some people kind of have somewhat of how it works. But like Abrams, Rian Johnson, and now Mangold are the only three people that have had to go through and do a Star Wars Indiana Jones thing in the exact tone where it should sit side by side on the shelf with those other films. And like, Rogue One and stuff like that, it gets more leeway to be whatever it wants. And if they ever do an Indiana Jones spinoff, it too will get that amount of like leeway. But if you're doing Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford, it's got to sit directly on the shelf, and it does. And like there's 5 more minutes of this footage that was shown, and all of it is exactly as on as that. Like that's not just one isolated minute. I could tell you there's at least 6 minutes that are good in the film, which means a lot to me.
Side topic, but tied together to this thought. If this next James Bond trilogy of films don't work out, right, or a series of films, however many they make, do you think they'd go back and do a James Bond in the 60s and just deepfake Sean Connery? And do a series of films with Sean Connery as a 1960s James Bond? But with, more Cold War. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not super... I don't love the idea of deep baking Sean Connery and bringing him back as James Bond. The idea of doing James Bond in the 60s and keeping it like, or doing James Bond in different eras, like as opposed to always just it being modern, the new one being now. I like James Bond in the 60s and 70s better. Like I would say I like Octopussy. I think it's good. I like it going like that's a different tone, but from the original like Casino Royale to that, I like that spectrum of things. I don't really like I'm not a big fan of the new James Bond stuff. I don't think it's bad. I think it's like they're entertaining movies. I enjoy watching them, but I don't really get into them that much. It's not as fun as Cold War Bond, I think. So yeah, if I were doing James Bond, I would probably always set it in the Cold War and do it that way. But what I like about like Indiana Jones in this context is Ford is giving the performance that the digital puppet of him is mimicking 100%. So we are getting Harrison Ford at the same time. Like in that instance, we can't get Sean Connery because he's dead. We could get a fucking voice actor, and like, but having like his level of charm and his like delivery and stuff like that, they could try. But I that one I'm not so sure about getting like the spirit of an actor like down 100%. Like for an appearance, could they do a CGI Connery and you would be like, that's so fucking on, like 100%. But like a whole movie that sits beside the Connery movies, that's where I get like.
I wish they would deep fake the end of Skyfall because it was supposed to be Connery. when they go the Brian Cox character or whoever that actor is. I think it was Brian Cox, but I can't remember. But can't remember right now. You guys will correct me. But that was supposed to be, and then Sean Connery turned it down, which dumb fucking move. Like it's like let that be the last thing people remember you as, you know?
Yeah.
So, but whatever.
And I like Moonraker. I think Moonraker is really fun and has like a lot of great shots in it. Like a lot of
you like it because it's got a guy named Jaws in it.
It's got Jaws. It's made in response to Star Wars. You know, it's James Bond Star Wars. It's silly.
Yeah, you should listen to Quentin Tarantino's podcast where him and Roger Avery, Avery and him go on about how Avery loves Moonraker. Or who loves Quentin loves Moonraker and Avery says one of them loves Moonraker and the other one fucking doesn't. Like and they go on it for about an hour.
but that's like for me, what's his name? Roger Moore? Is that his name?
Roger Moore.
Yeah.
The Adam West of Batman.
I keep wanting to say Roger Daltrey from the Who. Roger Moore. He like that was like James Bond to me when I was a kid. Like that's the James Bond that existed. So like regardless of whatever like, you know, snobbish attitudes people want to have, to me that's who comes into my brain for James Bond when I think of James Bond. Not even Connery. Connery is obviously a amazing like performer, but that's who comes into my brain just because, you know, that was Bond when I was a child. And but I like that like, you know, I could see somebody really doing like a throwback James Bond movie set in 1974 today with all of that stuff, but it actually being a good movie that wasn't just camp. You know what I mean? Like you could do that, like that like version of the future in 74 that's a cool style. And so I wouldn't mind if they did that kind of shit. As she says, I don't know anybody who cares for Bond. I see James Bond fans only as certain middle-aged dads who love classic cars too much and monarchy. Yeah, you know, that's what's funny, man. Is it's like what it's they're like Avatar. Like you don't find Avatar fans, but when an Avatar movie comes out, fucking there's people there to see it, and they see it. And
yeah,
it makes
those James
money.
Bond movies make billions of dollars, dude. It's so it has a name, and you just got to remember too, man. Like it's an international property, like Avatar. It hits with different cultures, and so we're just not. I don't think any of us are going and flying to India and then flying to Madrid and then flying to Portugal and then flying to Norway and then flying to Sweden. You know, like there's so many different markets. And I think about that video they made when Avatar 2 came out, just showing the different premieres worldwide. And it's like, imagine having to put on a fucking premiere in like 12 different fucking countries, dude. Like, it's exotic. It's a lot of money and time and effort to go into that too. You know, it's ridiculous, but yeah, you just can't. I mean, the internet space, don't let confirmation bias or your little sphere of influence like affect, you know, like whether I'm into it or not. Like it's not because I like Avatar. Oh, of course it would do better. No, it's just that there's other fans that like, I don't know why or how those fucking Transformers movies ever made anything, but I can tell you what I think when I watch clips of those Transformers movies from taken in theaters from other countries. And old Megan Fox puts her booty up, and Michael Bay shoots women in a certain way that gets them audiences go. So you can say the robots got people there, but I'm going to tell you, the robots didn't get people there last time. Like the robots, I think it's the big tits and ass dude next to the
it's the same thing with the Fast and the Furious films. I think it's probably a lot of the same audience. I like cars and I like girls. And so if you want to see movies with cars and girls, Transformers,
and Bond has cars and girls,
and Bond also has cars and girls, but what I think like about us is that I think we are like sort of organizers, and we like to some degree be a part of a culture, even if it's from afar. And that's like Star Wars fans is like a thing. There is like an actual Star Wars culture. I've never seen James Bond culture. I don't know if it really exists.
You weren't in the military.
Right.
I can tell you it's Joe's. I used to call these barracks movies. It's like I didn't own any of these fucking films, but if I wanted to see one, I didn't have to rent it. I just go to the guy. Someone in the barracks got these films. They got Maxim magazines. They got every Fat Boy Slim fucking CD.
Fat Boy Slim.
They do have. They got him now. 20 years
Yeah.
later, Jason, they ain't letting it go. They ain't letting it go. So it's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know,
I have to pick up the kids in just a minute, but I want to hear on a couple. I want to hit on this one. Jonesy, thank you for being a channel member, Jonesy, and for everyone who's a channel member. Mangold explained that he shut down any notions of using the volume regarding Indy 5. Wonder if he will go blue green screen in the new Star Wars movie. It costs less and easier to use practical effects. Well, two things about that. Most likely the film that he does will be shot in the UK, so the volume would be only used on places that can exist. But the I think sort of like, number one, I'm glad he didn't want to go volume because it wouldn't match the look of the other films. So that's why I'm glad that he didn't. However,
yeah, it limits your camera placement.
But everybody talks about CGI and fucking CGI and Indiana Jones 4. If you're rewatching all of these movies, look at the CGI and just look at it and you're like, it's very much of its 2008 time. Whatever. You know what actually sucks about Indiana Jones 4 are the sets. The actual practical sets that they actually built.
The temple set specifically.
The temple set, it does not look good. And a lot of Temple of Doom at times has very beautiful sets, but a lot of those smaller sets, those little side sets that lead into it, also look just as like B-grade bad. And so that's where I'm curious with what Mangold has done when we get to his stuff. Do people criticize those sets for because they're looking at it with an adult eye and not just taking it as something that has always been? Do they look at that? Because something tells me that that's why this movie, though, he didn't. And that's why this movie costs like $300 million and will likely not be profitable. You know what I mean? I don't know how this movie turns a profit if it doesn't make $1 billion, realistically. And so, you know, I think this might be the last Indiana Jones film with Harrison Ford, almost because he said as much before his third time saying as much. But it did really good.
850.
It did.
And that's with all the hate, and there was an internet, and there was everyone bitching. So
yeah.
like, there was podcasts. I was listening to them. They were complaining. So this movie's good. It can do $1 billion. You know, like I think right now, like we are in a place where quality does matter. You know,
right.
like word of mouth. Like, because who the fuck? Look, forget about Avatar. Who the fuck cared about a Top Gun 2 until that shit came out? You know what I mean? Like
that's
seriously.
my point. Like when Bespin is really into box office, so we end up having a lot of like box office discussions a lot. And the thing that I keep noticing that people that are in their mid-20s and care about box office completely fucking are missing is the fact that like Maverick, Mario, Indiana Jones, these guys are really important to actually like pop culture, like in a big, huge way in totality. And so when you go through and you say Indiana Jones is going to make $300 million, like you sound stupid to me just because of the amount of people who are going to see it because it's Indiana Jones, whether the movie's good or bad. Like that's like the whole thing. The last Indiana Jones movie, which the internet told everybody was the worst movie ever made $850 million because people are still going to go see Indiana Jones. People always needed to see Maverick. Like, what is Maverick like if they do a part 2? That's the thing that you can't take away from it. And that's so I'm hoping it does. Like, I'm hoping it hits $1 billion and it really is highly profitable. I'm hoping it goes that way. But my whole thing is that like it's a pretty crowded little summer between The Flash, Fast X, Indiana Jones, Spider-Verse, and what's still playing between Guardians and Mario still playing. There's a lot to pull from it, to take away from it. And but I'm going to be seeing it at least twice. So, and you know, and then look at what Guardians did. I don't think Guardians is at that level, but Guardians was a movie that people were really saying was out at the box office, and it had a really great second weekend.
Yeah, 49% draw, dude. I mean that's word of mouth telling people they enjoyed the film.
Yeah, that it wasn't Ant-Man. And
Right.
okay, I gotta go because I gotta go and get the kids.
Jason's gotta go.
I gotta go. I got that. My alarm is off. I
Gotta
need
go
to
be
there.
a dad.
I gotta be a dad. I'm just gonna end the show and walk away. But everybody, we'll see everybody tomorrow. Rob, I'll talk to you in a bit.
Later.
Thanks, dude.